Pastor Jamal Bryant has found himself at the center of controversy once again, and this time the scandal is even harder to ignore. From the pulpit to the headlines, his name has been dragged into yet another storm that has church members shocked, critics buzzing, and the entire online community asking the same question: how many scandals can one pastor survive? What really happened behind the scenes? And why does it feel like Jamal Bryant's name keeps circling back into drama that won't go away? Stick around, because what we uncovered about this latest chapter will leave you stunned. Welcome back to the channel, where we dive into the controversies, scandals, and untold stories that others are too afraid to cover. And today, we're tackling one of the most talked about names in modern ministry, Pastor Jamal Bryant. Now, for those who may not know, Pastor Bryant is not just any preacher. He's a nationally recognized leader, a man who took over the pulpit at Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Atlanta, and someone whose influence stretches far beyond the four walls of the church. But alongside that influence has come a string of controversies, scandals that seem to follow him year after year. This latest situation has not only reignited old debates about his leadership, but it has also left many asking whether his ministry can withstand yet another public storm. From rumors swirling in the congregation to online chatter that refuses to quiet down, the spotlight is back on Bryant in a way that demands attention. And here's the thing, this isn't just another tabloid headline. When you look closer at what's happening, the story reveals something deeper, a pattern of behavior, a struggle between reputation and reality, and a warning sign for megachurch leaders everywhere. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what this new scandal is about, what led up to it, and the shocking details that insiders say are being covered up. We'll explore Jamal Bryant's history of controversy, how his congregation is reacting now, and most importantly, what this means for the future of New Birth Church and his ministry as a whole. Stay tuned, because what we're about to unpack goes far beyond one headline. By the end, you'll see why so many people are saying this could be the scandal that finally changes everything for Pastor Jamal Bryant. To understand why this latest scandal has caused such an uproar, you first need to know who Jamal Bryant is and why his name commands so much attention both in the church world and in broader culture. Jamal Harrison Bryant was born in Baltimore, Maryland, into a deeply religious family. His father, Bishop John Richard Bryant, and his mother, Reverend Cecilia Williams Bryant, were both respected leaders in the African Methodist Episcopal AME Church. Growing up in that environment, Jamal was destined for ministry. But unlike some who quietly move into leadership, Bryant made it clear from a young age that he wasn't just going to be another pastor, he wanted to be a movement. After earning his degree from Morehouse College, a historic institution known for shaping leaders, Bryant went on to study at Duke University and then furthered his theological training. By the time he stepped into leadership, he had already positioned himself as someone who wasn't afraid to mix faith with activism, culture, and politics. And this is what set him apart. In the early 2000s, Jamal Bryant exploded onto the national stage. He became the pastor of Empowerment Temple AME Church in Baltimore, a congregation that he grew into one of the fastest growing churches in America. His preaching style was charismatic, bold, and unapologetically relevant. He wasn't just quoting scripture, he was tying it into the struggles of Black America, addressing issues like police brutality, systemic racism, and economic inequality. People loved him for it. He attracted celebrities, politicians, and everyday people who felt like he was speaking their language. By his mid-30s, Bryant wasn't just a preacher. He was a brand. He was featured in national media, invited to speak at high-profile events, and even considered by some to be the future face of progressive Black church leadership. But with visibility comes scrutiny. And even in these early years, whispers began circulating about Jamal's personal life. While his ministry was thriving, cracks in his image as a leader of integrity started to show. Still, his influence only grew larger. By 2018, after a series of ups and downs in Baltimore, Bryant was announced as the new senior pastor of Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Atlanta. This was no small move. Birth had once been one of the most powerful megachurches in America under Bishop Eddie Long, but after Long's own scandals, the church's reputation had plummeted. Many wondered if Birth could survive. Jamal Bryant was seen as the man to revive it. With his fiery preaching, his youth appeal, and his ability to merge faith with culture, he seemed like the perfect choice to bring Birth back to life. And for a time, it worked. Attendance picked up, social media buzzed about his sermons. He once again appeared to be unstoppable. But here's the thing. When you carry that much influence, when your platform is that visible, the pressure to maintain an untouchable image becomes overwhelming. And for Bryant, the same personal controversies that had dogged him in Baltimore were about to follow him into Atlanta. The question many began asking was simple. Could Jamal Bryant's charisma and leadership overshadow his personal missteps? Or would the very thing that made him relatable, his willingness to live openly and boldly, eventually become his downfall? And that's where today's scandal connects, because the latest accusations are not just isolated incidents. They are part of a larger pattern that stretches back decades. But before we dive into the details of the current scandal, we need to revisit the history of Jamal Bryant's previous controversies, because understanding his past is the only way to see why this latest chapter is hitting so hard. When people talk about Pastor Jamal Bryant today, they often mention his charisma, his leadership, and his ability to draw people in, but just as often, his name is tied to scandal. And the truth is, this isn't the first time, far from it. If you look back, a trail of controversies follows him almost everywhere he goes. Let's start with one of the earliest and most well-documented issues, his marriage. Jamal Bryant was married to Jamal Bryant, who many of you might know today from Bravo's hit reality show, The Real Housewives of Potomac. Their marriage initially appeared to be a power union, a prominent pastor, and a beautiful, outspoken wife who stood by his side as First Lady of the church. Together, they looked like the picture of ministry success. But that image didn't last long. Reports began to surface that Bryant had been unfaithful. Giselle herself later confirmed that infidelity played a huge role in the breakdown of their marriage. Their divorce was finalized in 2009, and it became public knowledge that Bryant had fathered a child outside of the marriage. For many in the church, this was devastating. How could a man of God who preached about integrity, family, and morality fail so publicly in his own household? Yet, despite the scandal, Bryant continued to preach, and that resilience became part of his narrative. He didn't hide from the controversy. In fact, he often addressed it directly, framing his mistakes as part of a larger story of redemption. For some, this honesty was refreshing. For others, it felt like a deflection. Either way, the controversy made him more well-known than ever, but that was only the beginning. Over the years, more allegations and rumors swirled around his name. In 2013, a woman came forward claiming that Bryant had fathered another child outside of marriage. While Bryant initially denied some claims, the whispers never fully went away. Each time the congregation and the public were forced to wrestle with the question, can a man who struggles this openly with his personal life still be trusted to lead thousands in spiritual guidance? And then came his move to Birth in 2018. For some, it felt like a fresh start, but almost immediately, news stories emerged. Social media exploded with rumors about Bryant's dating life, some suggesting relationships with women in his congregation. Even Giselle Bryant's reappearance in his life, when the two briefly rekindled their romance, became headline fodder, especially once that reunion fizzled out amid more cheating allegations. What's important to note here is that every one of these scandals chips away at public trust. For his supporters, Bryant is a flawed but relatable leader, someone who admits his mistakes and keeps moving forward. For his critics, he represents a dangerous double standard, a pastor who preaches holiness on Sunday but lives a very different reality during the week. And let's not forget the sermons themselves. At times, Bryant has stirred controversy from the pulpit with remarks that critics have called reckless or insensitive. In one infamous sermon, he used a line from Chris Brown's song shouting, "These hoes ain't loyal," a phrase that was meant to drive home a point, but instead caused outrage. Many accused him of disrespecting women and bringing secular language into the sacred space. That sermon went viral. And once again, Bryant's name was tied to controversy rather than inspiration. Each of these moments builds a picture, not of one isolated mistake, but of a leader who seems to live in constant tension between his calling and his personal struggles. And this is crucial because the current scandal we're about to discuss doesn't exist in a vacuum. It lands on a foundation already weakened by years of public missteps, failed relationships, and questionable decisions. And here's the cliffhanger. If the past is any indication, then this newest controversy may not only damage his reputation further, but it might finally push his ministry into a crisis that even his charisma can't fix. Because what we're hearing now isn't just another rumor about his private life. It involves the very credibility of his role as a leader and whether or not the church itself can continue to stand by him. Now let's get into the real reason Jamal Bryant's name is once again trending everywhere. The latest scandal that has the church world buzzing and social media exploding. This time, the accusations go beyond whispers in the pews. They've become public enough that both his congregation and the broader community are demanding answers. According to multiple sources, Bryant is facing fresh allegations of inappropriate behavior that once again call into question his judgment as both a spiritual leader and a public figure. So, what exactly happened? Reports suggest that the pastor has once again been linked to alleged relationships that cross boundaries, relationships that many believe should never have taken place given his position. Some insiders claim these aren't isolated incidents, but part of an ongoing pattern of blurred lines between his personal and pastoral life. And here's where it gets even more troubling. Allegedly, individuals connected to the church have voiced concerns about favoritism, about Bryant's interactions with women in leadership, and about how these relationships may be impacting not just his reputation, but the credibility of New Birth Church as a whole. For a congregation that is still recovering from past scandals under its previous leadership, this is deeply concerning. What makes this particular controversy stand out is how public it has become. Unlike some of his earlier issues, which circulated mostly in gossip blogs or church circles, this time the story is trending on social media platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok. Memes, reaction videos, and online debates have made it nearly impossible for the church to quietly sweep this under the rug. And when a megachurch leader becomes the center of viral content, you know the damage control is going to be difficult. Critics are saying the pattern is undeniable. They point out that every time Jamal Bryant seems to make progress in rebuilding his image, another story emerges that drags him back into controversy. Supporters, on the other hand, argue that Bryant is being unfairly targeted because of his prominence, suggesting that the media and even church rivals thrive on watching a successful Black pastor fall. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. Some sources close to the situation allege that church funds and resources may have been entangled in personal matters, a claim that, if proven true, could have serious consequences not just for Bryant, but for the church's financial standing. While nothing has been confirmed on this front, the mere suggestion has added fuel to the fire, with critics demanding transparency and accountability. And think about this. New Birth Missionary Baptist Church is no ordinary congregation. This is the same church once led by Bishop Eddie Long, who left under a cloud of his own scandals. The church's reputation has been fragile ever since, and many saw Jamal Bryant as its redemption story. But with this latest controversy, members are once again left wondering if their leader is more of a liability than a blessing. Adding to the tension is Bryant's own response. Instead of addressing the allegations head-on, he has, at least for now, remained mostly silent or vague in public statements. Some interpret this as wisdom, refusing to dignify rumors with a response. Others see it as avoidance, a strategy to ride out the storm until people move on. But here's the problem. In today's digital world, scandals don't just fade away. They live online forever, resurfacing every time a new controversy hits. And so the question becomes, how many more scandals can Jamal Bryant survive before his credibility as a pastor collapses completely? Here's the shocking part they don't want you to know. While the church leadership has tried to project unity, behind the scenes, there are whispers of division within the board. Some reportedly believe it's time for new leadership, fearing that Bryant's personal life is overshadowing the ministry. Others argue that removing him would destroy the fragile stability the church has only recently regained. It's a tug of war, and at the center of it all is one man, Jamal Bryant. This is no longer just about personal choices. It's about the future of an entire congregation, a church that once symbolized power and influence in Atlanta, and a pastor whose every move is being watched under a microscope. Whenever a pastor faces scandal, the natural question is, how does the congregation respond? And in the case of Pastor Jamal Bryant and New Birth Missionary Baptist Church, the reactions have been as divided as you might expect. Some standing firm in loyalty and others ready to walk away in frustration. Inside the walls of New Birth, the mood has shifted. For many, Jamal Bryant represented a new chapter, a chance to heal after years of turmoil under the late Bishop Eddie Long. When Bryant first arrived, the pews were filled with energy, optimism, and hope. But as this latest scandal unfolds, you can feel that energy start to fade. Some members remain fiercely loyal, insisting that no pastor is perfect and that Bryant's charisma, preaching, and vision for the church far outweigh his personal flaws. They argue that his willingness to be transparent about his struggles makes him relatable, even human. To them, this latest wave of accusations is nothing more than another attack from outsiders who don't want to see New Birth succeed. But not everyone sees it that way. There's a growing segment of the congregation, longtime members and newcomers alike, who feel disillusioned. They've sat through sermons about morality, integrity, and faithfulness, only to see their leader repeatedly accused of failing to uphold those same values. For these members, it's more than just gossip. It's a breach of trust. And when trust is broken, it's hard to repair. Whispers have started to spread in Bible study groups, in private conversations after service, and in online forums. Some are quietly leaving, choosing to worship elsewhere rather than wait to see how things play out. Others are calling for transparency, urging church leadership to address the allegations directly instead of remaining silent. And then there's the financial side. Mega churches like New Birth thrive not only on attendance, but also on tithes and offerings. If members begin pulling their support, whether out of frustration or lack of trust, the church could face significant challenges. Already, some insiders suggest giving has slowed as the scandal grows louder, though official numbers remain closely guarded. Now, outside the church, the reaction has been even more dramatic. Social media has turned this scandal into a viral topic, with hashtags connected to Jamal Bryant trending across platforms. Critics are quick to pounce, using this moment to highlight what they see as hypocrisy in modern-day megachurch culture. Comment sections are filled with debates about accountability, leadership, and the dangers of elevating charismatic personalities over sound doctrine. Even those who aren't religious are weighing in, seeing the scandal as another example of power and influence gone unchecked. And let's be honest, in today's culture, once your name becomes meme material, controlling the narrative becomes almost impossible. But here's the part that makes this fallout even more complicated. Bryant isn't just a pastor, he's a public figure with political connections and cultural influence. He's marched in protests, spoken on national platforms, and positioned himself as a voice for justice and equality. This means that when he stumbles, the ripples are felt far beyond Atlanta. His credibility in both religious and social justice circles is at stake. And behind the scenes, reports suggest that church leadership is divided. Some elders want to protect him at all costs, fearing that removing him would tear the church apart. Others believe that continuing under his leadership may do more long-term damage than good. It's a delicate balancing act, one that could determine the future of New Birth itself. For now, the congregation waits, watching closely for any sign of how Jamal Bryant will address this storm. Will he admit to mistakes? Will he deflect and move forward as he has in the past? Or will this finally be the scandal that forces a change in leadership?